Soloing legendary raid bosses is one of those feats that pretty much every single Pokemon GO player hopes to achieve. And it's not going to be every legendary raid boss. There's going to be a few legendaries that are going to be too difficult for you to take down by yourself, but there are quite a few legendaries that can be taken down solo. It's all going to require the right conditions as well as the right Pokemon, and that's precisely what I wanted to talk about in this video. Hey, how's it going everyone? Count Jinsula here with a brand new Pokemon GO video. I hope your day is going really well, and let's get right into it. Alright, so within Pokemon GO, there are certain Pokemon that you absolutely need to get, and the reason why I say that is because these Pokemon are what you need to take down certain raid bosses solo. And I'm not just talking about any raid boss, I'm talking about legendary raid bosses. Yeah, there are certain legendaries that you could actually take down solo, and if you have the right Pokemon, it's going to be quite easy. So that's precisely what I wanted to talk about in this video. I'm going to be talking about 4 Pokemon that you need to get in order to solo legendary raid bosses. And the first of these is going to be Shadow Mamoswine. The reason why I have Shadow Mamoswine on this list is because when it comes to this Pokemon, it's probably the absolute best Ice-type Pokemon in the game. And it's probably going to remain that way for years to come. If you do not have yourself a full team of Shadow Mamoswine that are powered up and maxed out with frustration removed, it's going to be really difficult for you to take down certain raid bosses by yourself. And in most cases, it's almost completely required. Like, there are certain legendaries like Rayquaza, for example, that can be soloed. It just depends on if you have a full team of Shadow Mamoswine. And in some cases, yeah, maybe it is possible to do with just regular Mamoswine, but if you happen to have Shadow Mamoswine, it's going to be incredibly easy and you'll be able to take it down by yourself very comfortably. So yeah, I do suggest that one of the things that you need to prioritize is getting yourself a full team of Shadow Mamoswine that are maxed out, and they do not have to be necessarily 100% IVs. You can have them to be high enough, I would say roughly about 80% IVs, and if you can max them out with frustration removed, you're going to be able to take down certain legendary raid bosses no problem. Now, speaking of Rayquaza, the next Pokemon that I need to talk about is of course going to be Mega Rayquaza. Now, ever since this Pokemon was introduced at Pokemon GO Fest 2023, it essentially made some raid bosses completely easy mode. You're going to find that Mega Rayquaza is going to be the top counter for a majority of legendary raid bosses. And the reason for that is because, of course, it has a lot of versatility. You could use it as a dragon type raid attacker, but you could also use it as a flying type. It's going to be top tier in both of those categories. So that means for any raid boss that has a fighting type, for example, it's going to be the absolute best option. And in most cases, you could take down a legendary raid boss just with one Mega Rayquaza. That's just how powerful this Pokemon is. So if you do not have the Mega Energy for Mega Rayquaza, you really need to get on that. Anytime Mega Rayquaza is in raid battles, I always suggest players farm it up as much as they can. Even if they have the energy to Mega Evolve this Pokemon, you will want to stock up on as much Mega Energy as possible so that you could Mega Evolve Rayquaza on a whim. That is extremely important because there's so many different raid bosses that have a strong weakness against this one Pokemon. Now, the next Pokemon that I absolutely need to include on this list is going to be Dusk main Necrozma. This is a Pokemon that is absolutely by far the best steel type in the game, and it's probably going to remain so forever. Like, this Pokemon is stronger than even the best Mega Evolutions with the steel typing, and even with Mega Metagross coming later on in the future, it's still going to be more powerful than that. That's just how powerful this one Pokemon is. And then there are certain raid bosses that have a weakness to steel types that are going to get completely decimated with this one Pokemon. And if you happen to have multiples of these somehow, then yeah, they're definitely going to be worth your investment because having one of these is going to be strong enough to take down certain raid bosses, but if you happen to have 2 of these, that's going to give you a lot of insurance. So yeah, definitely Dusk main Necrozma, that is one you will want to invest into. It's one of those fusions that I feel like just completely sets the bar a lot higher when it comes to raid battles. Like, the power creep is insane when it comes to this game, and it's really because of the Necrozma fusions. And speaking of which, I should at least include Dawnwing's Necrozma. I know there's only 4 Pokemon that I want to talk about, but Dawnwing's Necrozma is also a Pokemon that's worth an investment because if the raid boss is weak against ghost types, then Dawnwing's Necrozma is going to be phenomenally good. And just like Dusk main Necrozma, necrozma, it's going to be way more powerful than even Mega Evolutions, and it's going to be completely future-proof. So I will say that Dawnwing's necrozma is another Pokemon that is worth your investment, almost as much as Dusk main necrozma. And that leads me to the last entry on this list, and this one might be a little bit controversial because I think for a lot of people when they think about soloing legendary raids, they often do not think about this one particular Pokemon, but it is going to be Shadow Mewtwo. This Pokemon is incredibly powerful, and if you happen to have yourself a high IV one, it is definitely worth your investment. Now, unlike Mega Rayquaza, Shadow Mamoswine, and Dusk main necrozma, Shadow Mewtwo is unfortunately not future-proof because we know there's going to be a much more powerful Psychic type that's coming really soon, and that is going to be the 2 Mega Evolutions for Mewtwo. And until we get those Pokemon, I will say that Shadow Mewtwo is going to be the best of the best. And I do think that when it comes to this Pokemon, it is going to be essential for certain legendary raid bosses that are weak against Psychic types. It's just incredibly powerful. Like, it does so much DPS, it has a lot of survivability, and if you happen to have multiples of them, then yeah, you're going to be able to take down certain legendary raid bosses by yourself. And the other thing about this is, of course, the versatility of Shadow Mewtwo, considering that when it comes to the charge attacks, you could literally tailor-make it to whatever raid boss you're going up against, and that's something that's very unique about Mewtwo. Like, if you're going up against a Pokemon that's weak against fire types, you could put a fire type charge attack on Mewtwo. You could also go with a ghost type attack. You know, Mewtwo has Shadow Ball as one of its legacy moves, so you know, it really depends on what you need, and that's what's really powerful about this one Pokemon. Now, like I said, it's not going to be future-proof. There is going to be Mega Mewtwo X and Mega Mewtwo Y, and I guarantee you that both of those Mega Evolutions are going to be essential for taking down certain legendary raid bosses by yourself. That's something that I think a lot of players can pinpoint. I think Mega Evolutions by themselves are always just so much more powerful than just regular Pokemon, but when it comes to Mega Evolutions for legendaries, they tend to be completely overpowered. Minus maybe Mega Latios and Mega Latias. But Mega Rayquaza has been just a powerhouse, so I presume that Mega Mewtwo will follow suit, especially considering that with regular Mewtwo, it's already incredibly strong, and to give it a Mega Evolution will just make it astronomically powerful. And then of course there's other Pokemon that are probably well deserving to be on this list, like there's of course the Primal Reversions, Primal Groudon, and Primal Kyogre. Sometimes those Pokemon can be the difference maker for whether or not you could solo a raid boss, and I totally recognize that. And if I were to make this into a very long video with a whole bunch of Pokemon, then yeah, I probably would have included those. But I just wanted to talk about the 4 Pokemon that I've used the most when it comes to soloing legendaries, and I will recognize that this list could be, and probably should be, a lot longer. And of course, there's a lot of Pokemon that are about to come to Pokemon Go, which I totally think are going to be required for soloing legendaries. In particular, the 2 fusion forms for Kyurem, both Black Kyurem and White Kyurem. They are looking to be incredibly powerful. I think they're going to be on par with the necrozma fusion. So when those Pokemon come out, you will need to invest in those, because I guarantee you that when it comes to certain legendary raid bosses, having either of those fusions are going to allow you to solo them. So yeah, I really do think that when it comes to soloing legendaries, it's definitely possible. You just want to invest in the Pokemon that I talked about in this video. But in any case, that's going to be it for this video. Let me know your thoughts regarding everything that I talked about down below. Is there a particular Pokemon that you feel is necessary for soloing certain legendary raids? Definitely share what that is down below, and let's have a great discussion. Thank you so much for making it all the way to the end of this video. I really hope you enjoyed it. If you did, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe if it's your first time here, and don't forget that little bell so you can stay up to date on whenever I upload videos. Real quick, let me give a shout out to all of my patrons on Patreon. You all make this channel content possible. If you want to support the Content Slow channel, the absolute best way you can do that is always going to be by joining my Patreon. If you decide to become a paid Patreon member, I'm going to add you to my Pokemon Go friends list, and that means for stuff like remote raids and the friendship system. If you want to play Pokemon Go with me, then make sure you go and check out my Patreon, the links to which are in the description below. And if you want to support my channel in a completely different way, you could always do so by following me on social media. My handle is @Jinsula. I'm on the platforms that you see on the bottom of your screen. Make sure you go over there and give me a follow. That's going to be it for this video. I'm Jinsula. Be safe, have fun, love yourself, and I'll catch you in the next one.